is May the 8th, and God's word today for us is Genesis and chapter 25. Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, the Letushites, and the Leumites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanoch, Abidah, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. Altogether, Abraham lived 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and he was gathered to his people. His son Isaac and Ishmael, his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, the field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who then lived near Beer Lahai Roi. This is the account of Abraham's son Ishmael, whom Sarah's maidservant Hagar the Egyptian bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, listed in the order of their birth. Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetir, Naphish, and Kedema. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are the names of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. Altogether, Ishmael lived 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur, near the border of Egypt, as you go towards Ashir, and they lived in hostility towards all their brothers. This is the account of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Paddan Aram, and sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, "2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That's why He was also called Edom. Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look, I'm about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. We encounter death again in the book of Genesis. It's not long in life before we encounter death. Before it was Sarah, wasn't it, in chapter 23? Now it's Abraham, verses 1 to 11. Now we see at this point that Abraham is polygamous. He has many wives. That was normal in these days. Nothing unusual about that. Everybody was doing it. That was just the way of the society in which he lived. That is not God's basic plan for humanity, as we know, but he allows it here for a purpose. But in it all, of course, it is Isaac. In a verse like verse 5, Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. It is Isaac, the child of the promise, who is central in all things. So the death of Abraham. But then again, we have the death of Ishmael. And we have this now in verses 12 through to 18. Remember the promises given to Hagar back in chapter 21 and verse 13, that this son would be a great nation. Those promises given to Hagar, and also, of course, in a very real sense, given to Abraham as well. But these promises have been fulfilled, as we see in the list of descendants that we're given here. But despite the great blessing promised and fulfilled, the legacy of Ishmael and his descendants is a bitter one. These were the words that were written, as it were, over their lives or on the tombs of these people. The end of verse 18. And they lived in hostility towards all their brothers. Finally, we move from 2 men in death, and we conclude now with 2 boys in birth. The twins born to Isaac and Rebekah, that's Jacob and Esau. That's the last chunk of the chapter, verses 19 to 34. Again, this surely makes us think of legacies. What do our lives count for? What impact do they make? What will we leave behind? Are you going in the way of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, the way of faith? Or are you going in your life in the way of Ishmael and Esau, the way of self, the sinful self, what the New Testament calls the way of the flesh? How does the chapter end? So Esau despised his birthright. You have been warned.